A well-struck iron shot is one of the nicest things to do when it comes to golf. It's a great feeling, but how can we achieve it more often? Harvey Penick coached dozens and dozens of elite tour players, country club members for decades. And his approach to golf was simple, which is one reason why I am sharing it. But just to quickly go over what we're trying to accomplish to get a good iron shot, right? We want to get the ball first and then the turf. So as we're striking down, we want to make contact with that ball and then the turf interaction afterwards. Because as we try and strike into it, we want to have a little bit of shaft lean. With this shaft lean, we need to ensure that we're getting the strike in exactly the sweet spot. If we do not have shaft lean, meaning that the club is a bit too vertical and we're not more here in this dynamic sort of loft action, we're going to be striking the ball a little bit low on the face. Likewise, if we're a little bit too steep, we're going to end up hitting it on the top of the face. Neither of these are going to feel great. We're not going to get the maximum distance and not get that compression. Believe it or not, you are more than capable of striking a shot as well as a pro. We just have to find the instinct and the natural ability to be unlocked, right? Some of the things that we want to happen to be able to compress the ball is the correct amount of release and how we're using the wrists, how we're using the body all the way through to maintain that sort of shaft lean and swing through with freedom, with power, with consistency. But instead of trying to make your wrist do something in particular, let's reverse engineer this a little bit and use Harvey's tip. A member came up to Harvey Penick when he was on the range and he said, I'm really struggling with my iron shots. I just don't seem to be getting a good contact on them. Harvey didn't have time for a lesson or anything like this, so he said, go up to the end of the range and see that tree that has overhanging branches. I want you to go and hit some pitching wedges underneath that tree. And what this did, when the guy went away, he came back and he said, I'm striking it wonderful. Just with the intention and the goal alone to try and make a strike, but keep it low to begin with, created so many good things in the wrist, in the shaft lean, in the release to create that lower penetrating ball flight and that compression. So the goal itself was accomplished by having a totally separate task to the way most of you try and accomplish these things, by focusing on the minutiae. If you focus on the main objective, good things happen. Let me show you. This isn't a perfect science, but I was able to find a tree on a golf course and we're in a bit of the rough. I don't think it really affects what I'm showing you. It's this type of scenario that I would like you to try and find. Now, if the weather's crap outside and you don't have a simulator or whatever it might be, there's another thing that I'm going to show you later. So keep tuned for that, right? But here we have a shot, forget the distance, whatever. All I'm trying to do is avoid this tree line here. And more or less, this is my target that I'm trying to get below, okay? This is where I'm trying to impact the screen, which will keep the ball low. However, if I don't do it particularly well, and I end up sort of casting and releasing and flipping and not adding that sort of shaft lean, right? This ball will end up going a little bit too high, a little bit chunky, and I actually got through the upper gap. It was that sort of weak, but it was a very weak strike. It only went 114 yards, whatever. I'm just using these for comparisons. So what do I need to do to make it go a bit lower? I'm not trying to just punch it. I'm still trying to create a normal golf swing, because if I cheat and move it all the way back in the stance, I'm kind of creating that extra shaft lean like this, but it's not realistic for a normal shot. It means I can hit it below the tree like so, but even though that's giving me the feeling of that compression, I want to bridge the gap from a punch shot to just a regular shot, Okay, so what I'm going to do is just have a couple of practice swings to feel like I'm keeping the loft down on this club. I'm not trying to add loft, I'm just allowing that loft to stay down. But as I swing through, I'm staying balanced. I'm feeling like my head is staying back a little bit. I'm not just lunging this way. So let's see what happens if I do this. And that gets below. And you see that peak height there? That's 96, okay? That's kind of what I'm looking at. And on the launch monitor here, I had a decent sort of angle of attack, right? But I think I can do a little bit better. So with the same intentions, what do I need to feel to keep the back of the trail hand here with a little bit more angle into it, holding on to that just a little bit more, but making sure that I swing through. Okay? So let's see what happens when I do this. Well, I turned it over a little bit, but I got about the same amount of loft. So I know I can do a little bit better. Let's try one more here. There we go. That was 89 peak height, okay? And that launch angle was considerably lower. What you can also do is try this with your wedges. I've got a gap wedge here. It's like 48 degrees, 50 degrees, I think. What I'm going to try and do is keep that low down there, trying to keep that peak height low, that launch angle low. And what this does, it's reverse engineering the feels that you need to do. If you start adding sort of loft, you're going to really feel the difference about how much higher that goes and how much weaker of a strike it is. Now let me show you that extra little tip. Grab a T-peg and put it maybe 2-3 inches in front of your golf ball, okay? Whether you're on a mat, whether you're on grass, doesn't really matter, but our objective is to strike this T-peg with our iron, okay? Whether you do or not doesn't really matter. I mean, that's the goal. But just by having that intention, we can create all of the same conditions with the shaft lean, with the compression, with the ball then turf interaction, just by having that objective in our mind. Again, I don't want you thinking too much about how you're doing it. I just want you to try and do it and see basically what happens. With that intention alone of trying to strike that T-peg, you'll find that you still create a bit of a lower ball flight. Like there, I suddenly got it about 68 at my peak height. With the others, I was like 80 something. So this already has improved the compression and the ball flight that I was able to get. Doesn't just mean I'm trying to hit it lower, I'm just trying to get the good contact. I would urge you to try this quite regularly, a few times a week, and perhaps even just start with a wedge, trying to strike that T-peg, okay? Remember, it's not about how you're doing it, I just want you to try and do it. Before I let you go, if you have a net or even a screen, you can always just put a piece of duct tape or something at a height here that you're trying to hit below. Imagine that there's a tree branch here that you're trying to strike that ball under. Visualization, intentions play a huge role in what you're trying to do. Let me know if you have any questions. Now, if you want to get better off the tee, so you have more fairways to strike your pure irons from, check out this lesson here. It's going to make life a lot easier when you're further down the fairway. See you next time.